Hi,
Okay.
Kiran.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome. Thanks for your time in this discussion. So we are from Cloud and Load Tech Community. We are doing this cancer cause. So now we are inviting all people from same like-minded to give their experience in cloud or DevOps or any IT technology, so that we can create a lot of awareness. So can you give your brief about yourself to our community members, Kiran?
Definitely. Thank you, Vijay and Shruti, for reaching me and for giving an opportunity to talk in this event. Sincerely, thanks for you. And coming to myself, I am Kiran Dongara. So I'm having around 15 years of experience in IT and IT related services and management. So I'm currently working with Tata Consultancy Services Limited. So I'm on deputation in United States, working for a large bank in the United States. So coming to my experience, I was initially into .NET technologies and then worked as a developer, senior developer, and then moved on to management roles. I played various management roles in the capacity of delivery manager and portfolio manager. But eventually, I realized that my mind is not with the management side due to the natural challenges we have with management and other things. So I was thinking I was not made for being a delegatory kind of manager. So, and a manager who is not autonomous in nature. So finally, I ended up loving my technology stream. So I started getting back to technology. Back in 2017, I started dwelling into cloud and migration, data center modernization activities. Currently, I've been working as a cloud solution architect in my current role with clients and at my work. So I'm having at least 2-3 years of experience in handling critical migrations
Okay.
into cloud. Yeah.
Okay. Can you brief one cloud architecture and how you started? How do we design any challenges so that it will help us to display it to the community? It really lot, Kiran.
Definitely. So I'd love. I think I have some slides to present. So
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that okay to run over? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So are you able to capture this one? I think I'll start my slides.
Yeah, you can share it. Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Let me know when you can see. Okay. Okay. I hope you can
Yeah.
able to see me.
Yes, yes.
So okay. So before the starting even to into architecture and all those, uh, I'd like to say for the primary question I get from people around cloud area is the enthusiasts keep asking me, how do we even plan for migration? So what are our considerations for an successful migration into cloud? So when it comes to answering that question, the question answer will not be that simple. Means we need to have a holistic idea on what is our major goals are around the migration. Some companies might want to reduce their operational burden in their data center transformations, or some companies might want to jump straight away into the cloud arena. So
Okay.
different use cases will be there for each of the customer. The solution will vary and the design considerations will vary based on the type of migration or type of business the customer is having. Okay, so
Okay. Okay.
I think I'll run through the slides. I have a
Yes, yes, yes.
few slides here. So before even venturing on to this one, any the basic design considerations and architecture considerations are almost similar for any kind of cloud product we are having. Either it can be Azure or it can be AWS or Google. or Alibaba or OCI, anything. So the
Okay.
basic foundational pillars are same for any cloud migration. So the product comes later. I think before even dwelling into the product side, we need to think about what is our main goals in doing this migration. So for that one, we need to have a rigorous planning done in the initial stages. So on choosing what are our major drivers for cloud migration. Say some
Okay.
companies might answer, we want to reduce operational burden. We wanted to increase the time to market. So
Okay.
use cases varies from customer to customer. So we need to draft out those major drivers and what are the business requirements that is driving this migration. Then
Okay.
we need
Okay.
to plan for this migration, plan and design the migration. Just like as if you are constructing a building, okay, you will have what you will have. You will plan the design. You will then make arrangements to get all the infrastructure, and then try to set up the infrastructure, and then go on to implementation. So just like that one, so we need to be planning for this migration uh, in a careful and thoroughly execution manner. So if you see here, so the architects and the business and the developers and engineers, they play a crucial role in our migration journey. So
Okay.
yeah, so the sponsors, basically the sponsors, the business sponsors are the ones who funds this migration choices, isn't it?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that said, so our sponsors need to be aligning with our idea. The technology side and business side should agree on to a point on what we are trying to accomplish with this migration. Okay,
Okay.
so it's then the architect who is kind of a bridge between both the technology and business. So the architect will interpret whatever the business requirements and whatever the business goals that sponsors are having, and they translate them into technology solutions using the technical capabilities of our development team. Okay, so this development team can encompass everybody, like it can be DevOps engineers, developers, cloud engineers, database admins, network, everybody. So the architect will act as a liaison between both the business and technology. So somebody assuming a architect role should not confine themselves to be a technical advocate only. The architect should have enough knowledge on business, on what business problems they are solving with this migration, and they should be able to communicate in both languages. Like if a business team asks questions on what kind of solution, means that if they say our availability should be so and so, so our customers, I think end users are expecting this availability should be 99.99%. So then you should be able to interpret, the architect should be interpret that as a requirement, technical requirement, that our technical solutions should be in a stage that supports this SLA or availability requirements. So similarly, if a technology team says some problem with regards to something, he should be able to he or she should be able to understand what the problem is, and then translate that into the manner that business team can infer or understand. So is literally a bridge. The person acting as an architect is a bridge between the teams, the disparate teams present in the organization.
Okay. Okay.
So So the three pillars of this initial engagement is collaboration and knowledge sharing and technical expertise.
Okay.
So the the domain knowledge plays a vital role in migration. Sometimes, if you are in healthcare industry, if you are in banking industry, the domains are, they both are different domains, right? So
Yes.
the
Yes.
yeah, the challenges that need to be addressed with this solution should suffice the compliance and regulatory requirements of the domain.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So technical team may not have enough expertise on what domain means. They might have an idea, on what our business is doing, but they may not have stricter understanding on regulatory or compliance requirements. So there, our architecture and architect teams comes into picture, understanding and translating the needs of business into technology. So the constant collaboration between both the teams happens through architecture team, so that there will not be any friction in executing this major venture into cloud.
Okay. Okay.
Is it making sense, or any
Yes. Yes. Yes.
confusions?
Yes. Yes. Yes, Kiran.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Okay. So these three pillars need to be established. So a lot of people forget about collaboration part. The collaboration parts plays a significant role. So assume we don't communicate with each other. Technology doesn't communicate with business, or there is no collaborator in between both of them. Obviously, the end result will be in a state where that will not be acceptable for the business. Okay, we may not meet our business goals at the end. So hence, before even going into technology, before even touching what products we are going to use, we need to have a thorough collaboration and get onto a same page where we all speak the same language. We means the business teams, technology teams, and the architecture teams. Okay, so moving on to the further of it. So the wheel of architecture. So basically, it depends on, so our main business things determine what kind of architecture and design we want to implement. Sometimes our if at all, if our business is mainly around doing batch processing, extreme batch processing, or extreme gaming aspects or something, the computation requirements will vary from each aspect. So for
Yes. Yes.
games, yeah, for games, compute requirements will be high. We will need GPU processing units and all those. For the whereas for the memory related workloads like data analytics and all those things will need a lot of memory optimized solutions. So based on the actual business scenarios and the use cases we have, the computational requirements will vary from each of the aspects. So, and likewise, our KPIs, cost control measures. Sometimes, if we are very cost sensitive, then we might want to choose the solutions accordingly. That cost will be minimized. And if we have more stringent monitoring requirements, our monitoring solutions will include various levels of monitoring, like network monitoring, infrastructure monitoring, application monitoring, and everything. If we don't have that kind of thing, then monitoring will be emphasized less. Okay,
Okay.
and the
Okay.
latency requirements also. If you expect customers to be accessing applications without 0 second means almost millisecond latency, then you will have high performance requirements. In that case, you will obviously go for high CPU and high memory computation infrastructure. Okay, and similarly, geographic location also plays a vital role. So if our customers are geographically dispersed, say they are accessing from all over the globe, then obviously our preference will vary. Means we will plan to stand up applications across the globe, or at least 2 or 3 regions which are very close to our end users. Otherwise, if it is within the country, then we'll end up putting in just one country. Okay,
Okay.
so the
Okay.
wheel of architecture basically considers all the aspects of our design and technical needs, and then translate into actual metrics on what kind of computation estimations need to be made. So
Okay.
based on that one, we might. So suppose if coming to, take a situation of batch processing, where there is extreme batch processing situation in a back office landscape. So in the batch processing, obviously the emphasis will be more on the storage side. So storage side, you will need to maintain a lot of batch processing results and files and all those. The storage requirement will be huge there. Then the
Yes.
computation requirement will be moderate. Okay, and all others. So if you see incident response, incidents will not be too much. Why? Because this batch processing will not include end users, much of the end user activity, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So these emphasis on these things will be minimal. Likewise,
Yes.
on the cost control side, people don't want to spend a lot of money on batch processing. Obviously, the computational needs in gaming and other web applications will be huge. There, ultimately, we need to spend a lot of money, but here we don't need to spend a lot of money. That's why cost control side, sorry, will have much emphasis. Likewise, security. Security is another piece where security stack is minimal. Why? Because the end user activity and access or exposure to outside world will be minimal in this case. So if you move on to a different situation altogether, if you go on to medical or healthcare landscape, the here the segmentation of all these areas is evenly distributed among many of the critical pieces. Like monitoring, it should be very good enough, and the incident response should be very good enough, and the computational needs is average, means moderate level, and obviously security and countermeasures, security and risk and all those countermeasures should be high. Why? Because any data breach in healthcare industry will lead to a lot of regulatory penalties and everything. So I'm just putting all these uh, things into play. Means I'm putting in a diagrammatic manner. Why? Because what I wanted to make an inference here is each of the backdrops, either it is healthcare or banking or machine learning workloads, you will have a different kind of emphasis on different kind of infrastructure that is involved in the cloud migration.
Okay. Okay.
Is it going good or
Yes. 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 This is pretty much very layman language, Kiran.
okay? You're wanting to talk in the same angle?
Yes. 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 It's a good actually.
Okay. So to meet all these things, so
Yeah.
initially we will. So initially, as part of our initial deep dive sessions or initial planning sessions, we will put an emphasis more on the design considerations that need to be made to meet our ultimate business requirements. Okay, so based on that one, our compute resources, storage, and network resources, and all those will be chosen, thoroughly chosen. So, and in fact, the cloud providers, each of the cloud providers have come up with their own solution, migration solutions. If you say Azure will have Azure Migrate, and Google has
Yes.
its own liaison with external parties to do migration estimations. So initially, they will do an analysis. These tools will help analyze our existing landscape within our traditional on-prem area, and then come up with an estimates on what kind of computer requirements we need to be satisfying in the cloud. So
Yes.
based on that one, the migration plan will be generated, and that migration plan can be tweaked. Sometimes the tool might not consider some of the dynamic parameters that might involve. So, however, the output that is retrieved through the migration tools, that will help us to decide, at least approximately, it will give us a ballpark or all near accurate estimates on what kind of requirements that need to be met in migration. Okay,
Okay.
so that we can tweak that plan and then take it for execution.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is whatever the steps that we take care during this initial design and planning phase will lay the path for our success in successful migration.
Okay.
Okay, so after that one, once we even go into infrastructure provisioning stage, we'll need to set up. I think this is where absolute true collaboration comes between networking teams, security, infrastructure.
Okay.
So although I'm talking in the aspect of an architect, but we need to we need to work collaboratively with the network security, enterprise architecture, security architecture, and everybody. I think whatnot, all the teams across the organization will be part of this journey, and without any stakeholder in this journey will impair us in the long run. So that's why
Yes.
it's better to include all the security considerations, network requirements, and organizational segmentation requirements, etc., that need to be taken care. So obviously that can be taken care only with the collaboration with disjoint teams. We sitting in a technology area cannot oversee everything that's happening in the security or network area, right? So we need to
Yes.
engage with everybody and take input from all the teams and establish a baseline framework or network topology. So network topology in the sense, uh, as you are familiar, the cloud products will have their own product suite with a subscription and tenant design mechanisms. So the
Yes.
tenant designs, etc., should be laid out in compliance with the uh, organization structure of the company. So organization
Okay.
structure of the company might want different segmentation, the different subscriptions or compartments for each of the area. Suppose their LOB teams want pure segmentation between other LOBs, so they don't want interaction between LOBs. In that case, what they will do is, I think the tenant design or the network topology design will vary based on the choices we make here. If we want some kind of communication between each of the LOBs, then the design will be something else. If we don't want any intercommunication and everything should be disjointed and nobody should be able to interact with nobody among LOBs, then the choice will be the topology or design will be different. Okay. So, however, considering all these things, we will lay out our initial network design and tenant strategy. So that is called as the blueprints. I think obviously the cloud products, cloud service providers have their own blueprints, which can be used to mimic our current needs. So sometimes the blueprints can be used as is, but any of the organization will not use any of the blueprints as it is. They will just get an idea. The core foundational framework idea will be taken from a respective cloud service provider, and then that will be modified accordingly to the company's needs.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So based on the initial design consideration and then later subsequently the design, whatever we have laid out for our organization, then we will go for provisioning of the infrastructure. So we have determined our needs, our estimates were made, how many computes are needed, how much storage is needed, how much, what kind of networking components need to be made. Everything was coined out in the initial phase of design, and then later our tenant or subscription strategy will lay out what kind of segmentation that need to be made. So based on that one, we will implement provisioning of the infrastructure. This is the subsequent step of design and planning. There,
Okay.
yeah, there once the design infrastructure is provisioned, then we will obviously have workload placement and everything. I think before even coming onto the security and compliance. So we will have to work on our workload placement strategy. So initially, as part of the design itself, we would already made some choices around what applications that need to be migrated as a first-hand approach. Sometimes organizations won't want to take any risk, so that's why they start with some application which is kind of less critical and less risky to migrate into cloud. So organizations will plan that as a starting point to see how the migration goes, and then work on initial DevOps automation and infrastructure automation and configuration management and all those around those that applications migration, and then migrate that as a first-hand choice. Then once that is successful in meeting whatever we are wanting from operational standpoint and organization compliance standpoint, then the following workloads will be chosen for the subsequent phases or waves of the migration. Okay. Any question until here?
No, no. It's so far as good.
Okay. So majorly there are five pillars around cloud migration. These are called core pillars of migration. That is called security and compliance, performance optimization. Uh, uh, Next is uh, operational efficiencies and a couple of others. So the foundational pillars of each cloud product will be same. I think if you see, if you research by the word design, pillars of security, pillars of
Okay.
migration, then you will come to know extensive documentation about each of the cloud product. So we need to, the easiest thing that many people will ignore is security part. The security is a much pivotal thing in an IT infrastructure. And when it comes to public cloud strategization, security is the topmost critical thing, I can say. So why?
Yes.
Because until now we are placing our workloads in the on-premises backdrop only. We never exposed them into public domains. So as
Yes.
cloud is a kind of a public domain, means although the cloud, I think we'll have our own private environments with all the network controls around it. But however, it is a public cloud. Public cloud. It's not private to us anymore. So
Yes.
the security should be emphasized much more importantly than any time in the past. So the unfortunately, the less importance is given towards security. Many of the teams will think about security after the implementation of everything. So the biggest emphasis I wanted to give is on security. The security should be thought from right from the beginning of the planning phase. We need to think about our workload security and meeting the compliance requirements right from the beginning of the planning only. So although these are not a revenue generating things, people will tend to forget, but that is not a thing to forget because we need to avoid any kind of penalties or losses that may occur in the future. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then once we implement, the implementation part doesn't conclude everything. Then there comes the additional set of responsibility like uh, monitoring and standardizing, means monitoring and optimizing the existing processes. So sometimes we might have during the initial planning session, we might be oversensitive to our requirements and would have made a choices such that we would have calculated extra to compute. Suppose we actual requirement is around some 10 compute resources, okay, 10 virtual machines, but we would have on a safer side we would have taken 15 or 14 virtual machines. So in that case, this these optimizations need to be done while monitoring the infrastructure in the subsequent phases. So when we have monitoring tools in place, we will come to know how our resources are going to be used, how our resources are currently consuming in line to our initial estimations. Then you will notice a lot of differences with whatever you have planned. So sometimes the CPU might be utilized only 50% of
Yes.
actual
Yes.
capacity. So at that phase, we need to make choices to optimize and fine tune initial designs or initial estimations. So, and even sometimes we might not have considered some aspects of our performance needs. We would have computed memory very less. So you are seeing a lot of memory leakages and memory exceptions in the logs. Then you will understand that the memory part has gone with the wrong calculations. There, then you will plan about implementation of additional memory into the infrastructure. So, continuous monitoring and optimization process follows the successful migration of cloud workloads. Okay, so and I think this takes to me to the end of it. So, uh,
Okay. Okay.
like I said, so this is kind of a the cloud migration is not a one destination. We need to have a thorough planning and execution right from the planning phase to implementation and operationalization of the uh, technical landscape. And then subsequently, for ensuring our SLAs and KPIs to be met perfectly, we need to have complete control on operational metrics. and we need to evaluate them against our KPIs. That is, KPIs means key process indicators and SLAs, and then ensure we are not overstepping into any of the zones, and seamlessly continuing the status quo. What it means, not only status quo. So we need to ensure that whatever the existing greenfield or on-prem status need to be maintained. Plus, we need to get more benefits out of our migration. So ultimately, it should either continue the existing success factor at a minimum, or it should get more benefits to us in line to whatever we have envisioned in the beginning stage.
Okay, okay. I think this will give us a very layman structure. Those who really want to get onto or plan or explore. Okay.
Yeah, good. So yeah, I think until now I was unable to see you. So okay, did you stop it reading recording?